Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? This is SMH Podcast. I am your host, Shania. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode. Clap it up for yourselves. Yay. I wanted to get on here. We're kind of going to skip through tea time today because I don't have any tea time for you guys right now, or polls, but we're kind of going to get into the episode a little quickly. So this will be kind of a short episode for you guys. But anyway, you can follow me on all, streaming platforms, and I'm on social media. My social media tags is SMH Podcast 96 for my Instagram and SMH Podcast 1 for Twitter. That is the @ for it, SMH Podcast 1. You can find me on Wisdom SMH Podcast 96, and you can find me on YouTube as well. All of it's in the link of my bio on my Instagram. I wanted to get into the episode fairly quickly because like I said, it's going to be a short episode, but it is kind of dealing with a thing everybody has dealt with. And I kind of wanted to play for you guys a short little clip from let me see if I can find it on my phone. Play you a clip from I found it. TikTok. Because I loved her whole take on it, because it really spoke to me when she was talking about it, because we do go through this and a lot of people do not talk about it enough. It's something that is not talked about enough, and I really just wanted to have her talk about it. So hang on, I'm gonna have her talk about it. I don't know her name, but her on TikTok is KIUUE29. That's her tag on TikTok, y'all. So just listen to her really quick. Hang on.
Really, it bothers them. A lot of people will cry when I really break this down to them, but I explain, if you got children, as adolescents, we get to a certain age and we realize, our parents really didn't have it figured out. They were just doing the best they can. And it's when you realize that, that's when you start listening to people in the world. You know how you see an 18, 19-year-old and they stop listening to mama said do this, or your daddy said, and they start really just doing their own thing, and we look at it as defiance. But that's that moment when it click in their mind that, especially for urban people, my mama ain't got no bunch of generational wealth. She ain't got no bunch of money. If I needed a rack right now,
I'm gonna cut it right there, and I'm gonna kind of intervene. A lot of us has probably felt like this a lot, especially in, like she said, the urban community. I felt like this a lot. If there was like right now, even as an adult, I do not ask my mom for money. Not that much, because I know my mom don't have it at the end of the day. I work my ass off for a reason, because I know at the end of the day, if I don't have money for something, I'm just not going to have money for that thing. I'm going to have to try to figure out a way to get it at the end of the day. We don't come from money like that to where we can just ask our parents, oh, can I get this? Oh, can I get that? I worked at Motel 6 for a long time, and I was explaining to the security guard that worked there. He was Middle Eastern, and I was explaining to him oh, I don't have a car right now. I'm trying to save my money, trying to, do my thing so that I can get the car. And he's like, well, why don't you ask your parents? I was like, my mom doesn't have money, and my dad's not really in my life like that financially. And he's like, well, you can't ask a friend for money. I'm like, no, I don't just have money. I could just ask my friends for money. No, I don't have friends. I could just ask, not for a car. He wasn't understanding, I can't just ask my friends to get me a car. I can't just ask people to help me get a car. That's huge. But he was like, listen, you don't have a friend. He was trying to, we were going back and forth for a minute, and he tried to break it down, and it just came down. He's like, you don't have a friend that you can call right now and borrow $1,000 from. And I just was like, no, I don't have friends that just have that type of money I can just borrow $1,000 from. He's like, you need more friends. I was like, first of all, I was fresh out of college. I was working at Motel 6. No, I don't have friends. And I didn't have friends that just had $1,000 saved that I could just borrow from them. We didn't have jobs that paid like that. So that's really real. We don't have that type of wealth just out there for us to just be able to get money from. Not all of us. So
something where if I wanted a car or to borrow 10,000, she ain't got it. So really, all the shit she was telling me was just her surviving day to day. I got to get out here in the world and figure this shit out. And then we realized We wasn't taught stress management. We never had no conversations about how emotions will life up if you make decisions based. This is stuff that we wasn't taught. We taught how to cook, clean, match up your clothes, make sure your drawers clean, don't leave out the house without brushing your teeth, shit like that. But nobody said, like, you could be going through a heartbreak in a relationship and be overwhelmed with emotion, but you still got to take your ass to work. And if you go to them people's job acting crazy, they will fire your ass. You won't be able to pay your bills. As your mama, I don't got no money to pay your bill. You will be homeless. You have to come back here. People...
I'm gonna stop it there again. Hang on, y'all. Because I'm not trying to get demonetized or whatever. I'm not even monetized. I'm not trying to get my page flagged for what's it called? What's it called? Damn, what's the word called? I'm not trying to steal her. I believe this was like an interview she did, and I'm not trying to steal the interview from her. I just love the way she articulated this whole thing, that because that is very real. Like, we weren't taught like how to pretty much deal with our emotions in the right way. Like most of us, like we weren't taught to like deal with a heartbreak and have to actually function in a day-to-day type world. Like, have you ever been through that? If you're going through a heartbreak and you're at work and you're trying so hard to deal with your emotions while you're at work, like, that is the most stressful, emotional thing you could ever do. And that's very real. We weren't taught how to deal with stress management that much. Like, you can't just, like, I remember going to work one day and I was being so kind of not like, I was being so distant with everybody. I just didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't really want to talk to everybody. And it got to a point where people, you know, they kept asking me, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And I'm just ignoring everybody because I just don't want to talk to everybody, because what I'm going through in my personal life is just on my mind so heavy that at work I'm just not in the mood to talk to anybody. So it got to a point where I got called into the office, the management office, because everybody was like, I don't know what's wrong with her. She's not talking to us. And she's just going about her day and she's just not talking to anybody. So he's like, what's going on with you, Shana? I'm like, I'm just having a really bad day. Just stressed. And he's like, I get that, but you can't just ignore everybody. You can't just, I'm like, well, like, could you just send me home because I'm just having a bad day? He's like, no, that's not a reason to send you home. And I'm like, and in that moment, I got so frustrated. Like, I'm just like, and I just started breaking down. I just broke down crying. Like, I'm just having a really tough time. This is not okay. Like, I just don't. And he's like, well, maybe you should go home, like, type deal, and just call me when you get home. Like, I was glad my boss was okay, but some bosses aren't like that. Like, you just can't, like, go to work, stress off of whatever you're stressed off of at home and bring it to work. That's why they, like, separate your personal life from your work life and all that. But a lot of us weren't taught how to deal with that, especially heartbreaks. And that's kind of where I wanted to stop the video, because a lot of people haven't dealt with heartbreak that much. And I feel like that's something that not a lot of people have been taught too much of how to deal with a heartbreak when they have gone through that, because all of us have gone through a heartbreak. All of us have been heartbroken at some point in time. Somebody have broken our heart, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a family member, a lover. We've been heartbroken before. And I just want to try to help somebody deal with their heartbreak if they don't really know how to get through that heartbreak. Because everybody's been through it, and I know it's not easy. But here's just like, I just want to explain like what I've kind of done to get through the heartbreak. Cause the first thing we do is blame ourselves. Like, well, what did I do? What could I have done to make it better? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, we blame ourselves most of the time. Like, well, is there something that I said? Was there something that I should not have said? Like, what could I have done to change the situation? Is there something that I still can do to switch the situation, to turn the situation around? And it's like, the answer to those questions, you need to answer those questions yourself so that you can give yourself a better understanding. Like, honestly, like, when you ask yourself those questions, like, answer those questions. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but like, even if you have to write it out, like, why did we break up? Well, we broke up because I don't know why we broke up, but and then start breaking down what led up to the breakup. Like, he texted me, he said, I'm always tripping. Well, why does he think I'm always tripping? How do I figure out how I'm always tripping? Like, I don't think I'm always tripping. Like, sometimes we have to really like break down those little bits and pieces of everything to try to figure out what the breakdown was, because there was a breakdown at some point, and there was a buildup to the breakdown, and maybe you're not aware of it, but there was a buildup, and there was things that could have prevented it, and maybe you need to acknowledge those things and not just, well, fuck that person and it's their fault, it's easy to pass the blame on to somebody and to just make that person have all the blame and to make yourself seem like you weren't the person that contributed to it. But at the end of the day, we have to both acknowledge that maybe this was something we both did. Sometimes there is going to be more, blame than others on some occasions. Like, if you're habitual, I don't know, I can't actually speak for that. If you're a habitual cheater, it's both y'all fault, in my opinion, because if somebody that can keep cheating on you and you keep taking them back, you just allowing them to continue to cheat on you, because the only thing you do is take them back. So I cannot in that situation. I don't know, that I say they're both at fault, because if you don't want to be cheated on, don't take back a cheater. Duh. But sorry, that's just my opinion. But so when you're asking yourself those questions, answer those questions. The best thing you can do is answer those questions. Like, what was it that led to the breakdown? What was it that led to the breakup? What was it that led to us fighting all the time? So you can get through that to see what it is that was the problem, so that you can get through the problem. So, like I said, break down, and then at the end of it, understand, what did you learn after that? What did you learn after breaking down, like, the whole aspect of it all? Like, what was going on? How were you feeling, and what you did, and how you continued, and how did you contribute to it? Like, can you see things from their perspective? Like, I'm a true believer in everything happens for a reason. And with every experience comes a lesson. Because it's very true. With every experience does come a lesson, or you do learn something from it. And with a heartbreak, we have to understand, like, with a heartbreak, you can learn, honestly, at the end of it, how you want to be loved. Because if you were going through a relationship that you weren't feeling that much loved, you experienced someone that did not love you properly. So for the next time, if that person is not loving you properly, how it feels, so that you can be loved properly. If in your relationship, you guys don't communicate that well, and that's why you guys broke up, for your next relationship that you need to probably work on your communication, or you need to find somebody that can communicate with you the way you need to be communicated with. Like, we learn through experience. With every experience, we learn a different lesson or different thing. And everything happens for a reason. Like, it's sad for the moment. You're going to be sad for the moment. It's going to be a long moment too. It's probably going to be a day or week. You're probably going to think about that person, have moments where you want to contact them or see how they're doing and all that, and check up on them. But at the end of the day, the thing that we have to understand is that experience happened, and we have to look towards a brighter future, that we're going to have a better outcome maybe the next time we do this, and that maybe you had to go through this heartbreak to get to a better relationship, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't want this to be long. I just wanted to really just feed off of her whole thing. I do want to play the rest for y'all. I don't know how much left is left. Hang on. And it's kind of like a reaction podcast video. Hang on. Oh, hang on, y'all.
Like, nobody's saying this shit. Nobody's saying, like, if you don't have credit, you're going to have to work your ass off to buy everything because people are going to look at you like if you ain't got the money, you ain't got nothing. It's just the real shit that's just not being taught. Everybody, I think we on a wave right now, like entrepreneurship. And I think what people ain't telling us neither is, like, opening up a business and celebrating an LLC or a flyer you made saying your building is now open. That ain't shit. You're supposed to celebrate the numbers when you actually bringing in some revenue. We have grand openings and we celebrating the idea that we went and got some debt. We ain't, you know what I mean?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And I love the fact that she said that because, I am a very patient person. I will take my time, as much time as I need to be able to get the things that I need. My credit isn't the best, but I am working towards building it up, you know, and having better credit and getting better credit. And, I am working towards, having a better things for myself in my life, but I do that at the pace that I know I need to go. And a lot of times nowadays we're so focused on how it's perceived to everybody else that we're not really like how it's perceived to others, but not really the reality of it. Like, yeah, I just, I got a new like letter sign for my business or whatever, but I probably went into debt to get that letter sign. Like, and it's nothing wrong with celebrating your accomplishments, but I think we need to focus on the things that we should be really, like, those small praises get us somewhere too, yes, but we really need to think of the reality of things. Like, I don't know, I just felt that so much. Like, yeah, like, celebrating, like, I don't celebrate every time I get, like, I do online when I do, like, when my streams do go up, because I love that people are listening, and all that, but I'm not, like, focused on, like, oh, I got this many followers on Instagram, like, oh, I got this many followers on Twitter. Like, I don't care about that. As long as, like, all I care about is, like, if this message reaches somebody and helps them with their life and their day-to-day, then I'm happy at the end of the day. That's all I care about, is that it could at least touch one person in the world, you know? It could at least help somebody with something that they're going through that maybe they don't have somebody to talk to about. So I think that's what a lot of us are not really, we don't live too much in reality. We kind of live in a fantasy, the fantasy that was created, that we all, like, everybody wants to live, like, I swear everybody wants to live like a celebrity. Like, we're not celebrities. We're regular people, and we need to just celebrate our own victories when we feel like we have them, and stop celebrating the victories that we think people are looking for. I think that's what I was trying to say. Like, stop celebrating the things that people want you to do. Like, I don't know why everybody wants to do a gender reveal. Like, honestly, like there was a whole push to do, like, gender reveals. Like, we all got, and now gender reveals have gotten crazier and crazier and more expensive, and it's just to reveal if it's a boy or a girl. Like, that's not even your baby shower. And it's like, where did we all go to where this is something we all need? We all have to have, like, I don't know. That's just, we're gonna finish the video. This is the audio.
Like, and nobody's saying, like, hey, good job on becoming an entrepreneur, but until you make back what you just put in, you ain't accomplished shit. That's just a facade you created in your mind that you're now some sort of boss. You know, everybody online, I'm a boss, bitch. I got a hair salon. I'm a boss. I got my own music label. I own my own music. Ain't nobody buying that shit. So you ain't making you a boss of what? Nothing. But this is stuff that's, like, not being told to us. So, for me, I just, I'm locked in on that. I'm locked in on like the real shit that's not being said and spoken on. So
that was the end of the whole thing. But yeah, I kind of agree with her. There's a lot of stuff that's not being said and that's being overlooked and that we're all kind of not paying attention to because we're kind of, I blame the internet and the media for training our brains to be like, this is how we have to live. Like, that's why I feel like a lot of the younger generation nowadays is lazy because they feel like they don't have to work because they have social media to where I could just create a brand or I could just become an influencer or I could just make a viral video, you know, I could just do something so simple and get so much out of it. Like, but they're not looking at the whole aspect of what happens when that's no longer acceptable to you. Like, what happens when TikTok is no longer the popular app anymore? And people are no longer looking at those videos as much as, you know, the next big app. What happens when, you know, one day the internet does go down and you have to live in reality now and not on media, in social media? Like, what happens when your status online doesn't help you in real life? Like, what happens? Like, we aren't really we aren't really living. Like, what happens when, like, you're doing all this flexing online? Like, I'm gonna give it like an example. Like, you flex online. What happens when you get exposed? What do you do then? Have you thought about the game plan that you're gonna do then? Are you just gonna troll? Like, what do you really want to do? What do people really want to do with their lives now? Like, but thanks for listening to another episode, you guys. I really do appreciate you guys for listening. I love you guys so much. Yeah, we all need to try to, I think we're not thinking about the bigger picture. When your life comes to that, when you get to the end of the road of your life, what do you want to be happy about that you did in it? But not only that, what did you do to get there? You know? Not even that. Like, I just wanted to get on here. I just wanted to react to the whole video because I truly felt what she was saying. Like, we are not, I've told people this so many times, like, we aren't asking the right questions. We aren't focused on the right things. Everyone is so infatuated with how their image is perceived to others, but they're not focused on how their image is actually being perceived to themselves. The reality of what actually their image is being seen, because there's an image that you put out to the world, but then there's the reality of what the image is. When you look at a picture, you can see what the picture look like. It could look like beauty. It could look like happiness and all that. But behind that picture could probably be a dark story. We got to grow, y'all. We got to get out this toxic thinking. We got to get out of this mindset that we all have to live the same life or want the same things out of life or should do the same things. But I love you guys. Follow me on social media. My Instagram is SMH Podcast 96. Twitter is SMH Podcast 1. That's the @ for it. SMH Podcast 1. And my YouTube, SMH Podcast 96. I'm on Wisdom, SMH Podcast 96 as well. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. I love you guys. Drive home safely if you're driving and you're listening to this podcast. But I'll talk to you guys later. And yeah, see you for the next episode.
I'm about to walk this motherfucker, man.